Today's interview is with Austin Linney. And today, in today's interview, there's a lot of strong language. So I think everyone here is an adult, I'm sure, can handle it. So if you're offended by that, maybe don't tune into this episode. But I think it's a very important episode that people listen to because we talk a lot about mindset stuff in this one and take a deep dive into that stuff. And by his own admission, Austin has had trouble with drugs and alcohol. And has finally kicked it, thankfully. But he talks about all this stuff and sort of mindset stuff that goes along with that. And he has some great questions. He kind of turns it around on me a few times. So really, really interesting interview. And he's done some real estate stuff as well. So really, really interesting stuff. As always, like and subscribe on Wrestling with Real Estate, the YouTube channel. Go to the WWRE podcast and give me a 5-star rating and write me a review if you think it's worthy, and I'm sure it is. And I'm looking to speak to as many of you as possible. If you're interested in real estate, in whatever capacity that is, I'd love to get to know you, see if there's any way I can help you. So if you go to the link in the description down below, or you go to wrestlingwithrealestate.com and sign up there, we can hop on a call and just have a great conversation about real estate. But before all of that, enjoy today's awesome interview with Austin Linney. Hello and welcome to Wrestling with Real Estate, where we look to choke slam all your real estate problems. I'm your host, former WWE wrestler, and now Cirque du Soleil performer, and of course, multifamily real estate investor, Barri Griffiths. Now today we have Austin Linney with us. Hey Austin, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, my man. Thanks for, you freaked me out a little bit with that intro, but I love it. I'm excited.
I always like to watch people's reactions when I do that. I always like try and live it up. And if they're reacting more, I got to put a few decibels in there to make it a little bit louder. So it always catches them off guard. I don't think they expect it. So, hey, this is going to be a super fun interview. I'm excited about it. We were talking beforehand. It's going to be a cool interview. I can already tell. But can you tell us a little bit about your background, who you are, what you're up to, and what your current focus is?
Sure. I grew up in Houston, Texas. My father is a dentist, so a doctor. So as I grew up as a kid, you know, he started his own practice when I was very young, and so like we had some money, and then like all of a sudden we had more money. You could tell as a kid, and then I wound up living on a country club, across the street from Robert Ory and Avery Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, nice house, when I was 17, my parents, school was easy for me and I didn't find it that interesting. So I have a recall memory. I have a photographic memory. So I would just look at all the answers and then I would just make an A on the test. So it didn't really do anything for me. And I was getting in a lot of trouble in school, and my parents decided that it was either boarding school or I was going to move to Beaumont, Texas, Fannette, Texas, which is a little bitty town almost to Louisiana. And so I obviously I chose to move to the country and not go to a boarding school. But about 2 months after that, my parents came to me and said, we're getting a divorce. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on, right? And so I was kind of taken aback, and plus I'm trying to adjust to a new school, which was country as shit. These people like hunted, and it was like really odd. There was only like 100 kids in my class. And so, I was kind of lost at 17 for a while and wound up getting a job at a restaurant, which was cool. I enjoyed it. My parents did when I was a kid, but that life, as you're trying to find yourself and figure out the divorce, introduced me to alcohol, and which in turn introduced me to cocaine, which in turn introduced me to methamphetamines. And you're doing it on a Friday, and then a Friday turns into Saturday, and then a Saturday turns into Sunday. I think everybody else can understand how you just kind of go on to the next day. These are choices that you make. They're choices that in the moment, they don't feel like it's that big of a deal. You're still working, you're still getting things done. But as this continues to go on, the decisions spiral down. Like as I'm saying this out loud, I can remember, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., but still not sleeping, getting, an 8 ball from somebody and staying up and working. I was still working 60, 70 hours a week. So, but what happened, long story short, is I stayed up for like 10 days in a row, and I had lost like 25 pounds, and it was just not good. Like I was not in a good place. And an ex-girlfriend saw me and she was like, man, you look like shit, like literal shit. And I was like, I got to get it together. So I went home, I packed up all my shit, and I just left. I just got in the car and I moved to Austin, and I got an apartment. And that was how I quit the hard drugs. I mean, it's like really an odd thing, because as I help people in recovery, they're looking for this magic pill. But it was just one of those things where I was just, I don't know, like I was just done. Like I had got to the end of my rope with the hard drugs, but that didn't prevent me from replacing it with alcohol. And, alcohol is such a more socially acceptable drug, that people maybe don't look at it in the same context and let you slide a little bit more, especially when you're working in the restaurant business. So to kind of bring it all home, I had got way too drunk one night and wrecked my car. I drove it through somebody's mailbox in a neighborhood. I don't even know how I got there. My car got impounded. I got a ticket, and my friend had to come get me. Like he had to come from Beaumont and come pick me up and put my ass in the car and drive me back home. And so I went back home and I didn't get a job. And like a month passed. And I went to a wedding. I went to like out of town, and my mom was like, hey, this isn't a hotel. Like you got to get your shit together. And she threw all my stuff out on the front lawn in a bag and said, see ya, good luck. And my dad cut me off. All of he was paying, my mom cut me off. And, I was 21 crying like a little bitch. I mean, to be honest with you, I was lost, same friend came and picked me up, and he let me cry for like 30 minutes. And he said, hey, okay, get it together. We're going to figure this out. And so what happened was I had a friend who lived in his brother's house, and his brother looked at me and said, listen, man, it ain't much, but this is all I got. And so no bullshit, brother. I slept underneath in a closet underneath the stairs on a single mattress and had a fan, like that 50 square foot room. And that's where I was. And my buddy at the time knew a guy who laid brick and tile. So he got me a job, and he said, I'm going to pick you up at 5 a.m. I'm going to drop you off at 6 o'clock, and you're going to work. You're going to work your ass off. And so what I did is I did that for 3 months. I lived off ham and cheese sandwiches and lived underneath that stairs. And what I tell everybody, what's funny is the door used to get locked sometimes. So if they weren't awake, I'd just be stuck in there. So you had a lot of time to think about the decisions that got you there, right? And you think about that 3,700 square foot house on the country club, and then you refrain back to where you are now, and you have a lot of questions that need to be asked, right? Of yourself, and it was an interesting time. It was you would think that would be the rock bottom moment. It was one of the rock bottoms that, at least if I'm looking at it back now, at least I wasn't on hard drugs anymore, right? At least we removed ourselves from that avenue. But the drinking went on for another 20 years, give or take. So.
Well, thank you for sharing. I know, I'm sure it's it might not be the first time you've shared that, but I'm sure it's never really easy, right, to kind of remember those times and talk about it. I'm sure it brings up some pain every time you talk about it.
It does, but I'll be honest with you, the pain that haunted me for years was the pain that I blamed myself for my parents' divorce for 20 years. It destroyed my inner confidence, and it destroyed who I was as a person. It wasn't until I made peace with that at 36 years old that I truly was able to start living the life that I could for myself. As far as my drug and alcohol story, if I didn't share it, it would be selfish. Because if I can give somebody else the power to like, and this is a joke with me. I meet you. Hi, I was homeless, drug addict, alcoholic, right off the bat. Like, because it's taken their guard down, and it allows them to maybe share a story, give them the power to share something. Because, and I always say this, it's the things that we keep in the closet with the lights off that control us. Mm-hmm. When you bring it out to the light and you show it that it doesn't own you anymore, you can move past it. But we keep all these things that we think that nobody can understand. But what you have to understand is, I guarantee you, if you share your story, somebody is going to reach out and go, yeah, been there. Thank you for the reminding me. Because you know what I do? This is really, really odd. I shared this story for the first time with my coach on his podcast. Anytime I don't think I've come far enough, or like I'm having a bad day, I'll go back and listen to it. Because I'm like, dude, that guy was crazy. You're so much farther along than you are, right? But it's interesting because the alcoholism is kind of goes hand in hand with a lot of people in the restaurant business. Like, you're drinking, you're tasting. I was a high-end bartender, and about 2 years ago, I had stopped for like 26 days and started drinking again. And I was like, you know what? That was stupid. I don't know why you did it. And at the time, I had a business with two gentlemen who were in recovery as well. And it was the first time in my life I'd been around two successful men that were not drinking. I know that sounds absolutely insane to say, but they said, if you've ever thought about it, just stop, just try. And so I said, okay. I said, I went 26 days. Let's go 60. I said, let's go 60. So I got to 60. I was like, shit, okay. I feel good. Let's go another. Well, then I started losing weight. And so I got to 6 months and I was like, shit, I feel great. Why would I go back? And then I was like, well, fuck, I'm going to sign up for an Ironman. Let's go a year. And so through the process, it's been a year and 10, 11 months, give or take. I've lost 60 pounds and 8 pant sizes, and I never am going to touch the stuff again. And what's interesting is, part of me not going to 12 steps, I thought was why I didn't share my story. But then I talk to people who have been to 12 steps, and I'm not knocking 12 steps. I just find the recovery space to be absolutely intoxicatingly boring and negative, because the guys that I coach, what we're trying to do is, they teach you to survive. I want you to thrive. I want you to beat alcohol addiction and drug addiction. I want you to go to depths that you've never been. Because look at it this way. If you've been down here, up there looks really good, you know? And so, and then they have an inner fight when they can tap into it. That's unacceptable, because what we're not going to do, and I would imagine that you're the same way, because I'm looking at you and I hear from you, I just know I don't do the excuses and the complaining and the negativity. It's too much. Life is too short to be around anybody that says I can't. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. Man, I truly, I'm sure you get it all the time. People say like, thanks for sharing or whatever, but I really, really mean it, right? It's just like, to be as open and as candid as you are, and just to talk like that, it's just, you know, it's true. Like you said, right? So much stuff, everyone, I'm sure, right? Me included, keeps stuff in the closet, right? You know, nobody really, for the most part, right? Apart from some people like you, are completely open, right? We might say we're open, but we're not fully open, because it's stuff that we all keep behind us. And it's one thing to say, let everything out there, right? And it'd be cool if we could do that. But like you said, you coach, right? Which is awesome. I love that you do that, because I think you're definitely the right person to be able to do that. What have you working with clients? What are some stuff that you've been able to like get them through that. Because it's one thing to say, right, hey, put everything out there, let's do it. Like, you know, it sounds like it's a good quote, right? But actually doing it and put everything on the line and, you know, just opening your chest and putting it that is not as easy as that, right? Would you agree?
No, it's not. It's not. But what I live on is that it's not about me. And if you talk to people that are truly comfortable with their shit, is that by you not sharing it, you're being selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you can help one, guys, anybody that's listening, I have limiting beliefs every day. But my default settings for my habits are positive. And so the same thing I'll tell my clients, if shit's going crazy, if your default settings are positive, then you can survive it. But here's what you know about addicts, because I have a very addictive personality, is that if you can take all that addiction and you can turn it and you can put it into something positive, holy shit, you're like a rhino, right? But I want to share something that I've noticed in all my coaching clients, and this is a common thread that runs through everybody, me, myself included. Self-love. That's it. Self-love. Because you don't love yourself enough, and because you're not grateful enough for your gifts, that you in turn create stories of what is not actually happening. You know what? I'll use it in an example everybody can understand.
Mm-hmm.
This guy calls me out of the blue. I must have met him on a golf course. I don't know. I give my number out everywhere. And he's like, hey, man, I got my first real estate deal. I'm thinking about lowballing him. I mean, he goes into this it's like 9-minute, thing. And I was like, hey, hold on. Have you put an offer yet? No. I go, then what the fuck are we talking about? You've created 9 different stories of what's going to happen before you've even executed on the idea. Execute on the idea, then we actually have tangible stuff to talk about. And we do it, right? We do it all the time. We send a text out. Somebody doesn't respond in the first 5 minutes. Oh my God, they must hate me. Oh, holy shit. The guy doesn't like my offer. He's gonna, well, I don't know. Maybe he's on a call. But we create these these ultimate justifications of what's going to happen before we even seen it through. And what I'm trying to do with my clients is so simple. Become the best version of yourself. That's it. If you're in a crisis, to get to the next best version of yourself. Look, there's no part about me that's perfect. Not fucking one. And I will not commit to that. But what I do and what I hope to do, and it's harder on the ones closest to me, and I'm aware of that, is what I do is I try to take it in the feedback, and then I try to fix it, right? Like, that's all we can do. Like, the first time that you buy multifamily, like, I'll ask you a question because I'm interested and intrigued. The first time you stepped out on the big stage for wrestling, God, you had to have been shitting yourself. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Every time you did it get better?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in investing. If you're gonna read about it for 2 years and you never actually gotten in the ring, then what are we talking about? Because the emotions of the actual deal and being able, look, perfect example. I interviewed one of my best friends today. They manage $50 billion fucking dollars. $50 billion for UT. He manages 5 himself. I asked him, how the hell do you dump like 300 million in a thing and go like, well, I guess we're right. But they take all emotion out of it, and it's pure data driven. You know, there's emotion tied to it, of course. But what I think is the bigger issue right now, and I don't talk politics, but I mean America with COVID and politics and everything, is we as a society have allowed emotions to control everything that we do. Instead of getting the facts of a situation and actually addressing it, instead of being mad at the person, right? Like my girlfriend's favorite thing, right, is that people don't the road rage thing, they don't act like people are in cars anymore. They're mad at the vehicle instead of understanding there's a human in there who might have had a bad day.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing in America, is we're removing the human element from everything because of technology and Instagram and Zoom and all this shit. But if you walk around in this world and understand that everybody, this is what one of my mentors tells me, and it changed my entire life. If you walk around in this world and realize that everybody is hurting from something, then you will be attached to nothing. The way that you feel, or you lashing out on me, says more to me about you than it has anything to do with me. But we're quick to, dude, how could you? Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe his wife pissed him off. He hasn't slept in 2 days. Like, but we're so quick to get charged up and attack, right? And I think that we as people need to lead from the front, meaning control what you can control. You can control how you show up every day. You can control that you're a good father. You can control that you're a good husband. And I promise if you do those things, then your world will be fine. But we want to, here's what I don't get to understand. And maybe you could explain this to me, because maybe I'm just too out there. I watch people during COVID and they watch the news for 24 hours. I turned it off for 5 months, turned it back on. It was the same fucking story 5 months later. What are you hoping to get out of it? I don't understand what you think is going to be some breaking news that is going to change your life. It doesn't matter who the president is. It doesn't matter if there's a COVID out there. It doesn't matter. Y'all are living your best life right now in Puerto Rico because you decided that you weren't going to let outside forces control how you spent your life. Am I wrong or am I right?
No, absolutely. And I think it's unfortunate. I think people, they enjoy feeding that fear sometimes, and they enjoy it. They don't realize it maybe, or they let that fear fuel them, right? They let that, like you said, they control their lives. And it's, I don't understand anything about disease. I don't understand anything about politics, right? And I think that's a good thing, right? I just, like you, I don't pay attention to it because there's other stuff that I can control, right? I can control if there's 100,000 new cases today, right? But what I can control is, did I make moves in my real estate investing career? Did I spend time with my son? Did I spend time with my wife? Did I work out? Did I speak to friends? Did I have a good day? Did I work on some stuff that I wanted to? Did I improve myself? Right? I can control all that. That's within my grasp. I can't control what the president does. I can't control who wins the election. I can't control any of that. Now, does it have an effect on me? Of course there's an effect at some point, somewhere, but I can't control it. And I completely agree with you. If I say, I don't watch the news, to be honest. I couldn't tell you half the stuff that come on there. And it's nothing to do with anything else. It just fuels your fear, right? It fuels that fear. And the more scared, the scared we get, is that a word? The more scared we get, whatever, the more scared we get, right? The less action and less, so we want to curl up in a ball and die. And I love that analogy. It's not analogy, it's truth. Like when we get mad about cars, right? And I used to do it. And I realized, like, someone cuts me off and they go across 3 lanes and they make the exit. And I'm like, who is this asshole? Or they speed past me and they do something crazy. I'm like, you don't know what that person's doing. That they could have a sick child at home, right? That they're rushing home to. They could be late for work. They could be going the wrong direction. I know I have. I've gone the wrong direction plenty of time. I've cut people off. I didn't mean to, but I just needed to make that exit. Otherwise, I didn't know where I was going. I've sped past people because I was late somewhere. We've all done it. But in that moment when we're driving, and I love that you brought that up, is that we get so mad with people, right? We get so in that anger, like, oh, what is this guy doing? But if we take that second to step back and be like, 1, who is that person in that car? What are they going through? I have no idea. I have no idea what they're going through. And 2, have I done that myself? Yes. And if you don't think yes, you're the most perfect driver, right? You've never cut someone up. You've never done anything stupid. Come on, let's be realistic. And those things actually then, I don't get so mad. There's some stuff that sometimes still do, and I have to go through that process. But isn't it better to be like understanding of people and to be empathetic and to not be like, oh, everyone's an idiot, everyone drives like shit? No, it's not the case, right? Not every car on the road is representative of everyone. What happens is everyone has a bad day driving here and there, but then that cumulative that makes you think that everyone's a bad driver. That's not the case, right? It's the same with people, right? Like you said, like, I've had the same thing. I shoot someone a text, they don't reply. Oh, they don't like me. Oh, they think I'm an idiot. Oh, whatever it is, right? But that's not the case. They were looking after their sick sister, or they had something going on. And it's like, it's amazing the stories we can create. But if we're able to come from a place of empathy and be empathetic and understanding, not only does that make us a better person towards them, it makes us happier. Because if I don't think someone's ignoring me, if I don't think someone's being an asshole to me, if I don't think that someone hates me and it's all down to me and I'm a shitty person or I'm whatever it is, right? It makes life so much easier. If someone's rude to me and I think, maybe that person just had a bad day. He's not just a rude person and everyone's a rude person and society is horrible. It's just, he's having a bad day. I understand. I've had bad days. I've been rude to people myself, not intentionally, but it's happened. And I love that. I think that's so interesting that we kind of miss those points.
What's interesting, like my coaching clients, you know what they want? Somebody to give a fuck. Like, I'm dead serious. Like, what people don't understand about recovery, right? And getting sober, it's the fucking shame. There's so much shame tied to who you were. And more importantly, the scariest thing is your identity is wrapped up in you as an alcoholic. And when that goes away, who the fuck am I? That's the shit that scares people. It has nothing to do with getting sober. That's easy. I'm not easy, but that's doable. You remove everything that you know and your comfort zone is gone and you're like, holy shit. Because this is what they don't tell you. I'll even get them on the phone right now and ask them. My best friends, they only know me one way. It is so weird for them to hang out with me right now. They're like, I don't even know what the hell. Who the fuck are you? What is this? You have wait, hold on. You've got a podcast and you're sober and you've lost a bunch of weight. Who the hell are you now? You know, and these are my best friends. I've known them since I was in high school, but even they're having a hard time with it, you know? And so you have to recreate this relationships, but I want to hit on something you said earlier. And I want you to hear this theory because you're going to love it because you're in multifamily. I have a theory. It's not a theory anymore because it's real. I started looking at young kids, 18 to 24. Like, I have a friend who's 24 years old who has 186 units. I've got another kid who's got 300 and he's like 23, right? And I started thinking about it. And you want to know why you want to know why they're more successful than a 35-year-old, a 40 or a 50-year-old? Because they don't know any better. The amount of knowledge and context around a 35 to 50-year-old man is almost too much for him to pull the trigger. These guys don't know enough to be scared, so they don't care. And the way I'll bring this home is, you ever been snow skiing?
Yes.
Okay, go on that hill and watch the 45-year-old snow plowing and barely skiing, and then go look at the 7-year-old who is bombing down the hill. He doesn't care because he has no context around it. Sometimes in life, we learn too much and it scares us from taking action. My coaching, I can't even believe I'm going to say this. Part of the reason that people love me is because I haven't had that much training. My shit's on life experience. So me and a dude who wears a cardigan, who's going to talk about your feelings, I don't give a fuck about that shit. I'll talk about your feelings, but I'm in here to address you. And I'm in here to make sure that you are the ultimate, because I'm going to tell you something that scares people. And I'll say this to my coaching clients. I don't care about your wife. I don't care about your brother. I don't care about your mom. I don't care about any of those people. The reason I don't care about that person, because if you are the best version of yourself, then all those relationships will be better for it. That's it. It's simple. But we're tiptoeing around on who we are, and it's killing people inside. And I'll just use men for a context. When men can't go after their dreams and you neuter them to things that they want to do, and they're a sorry, CPAs. They're a CPA in a cubicle, and he thinks he wants to be, Evel Knievel. Every day that he's doing that, he's dying inside. And self-awareness, right, on who you are, and what I tell everybody is super simple, because I had to find it out myself. You can do a job that, let's say, you don't love, but 20% of something else that you do love will give you the creative outlet needed to not make your job such a bore and like such a chore. Because I really wanted to get out of the restaurant business, but I was like dying inside. And it's not until I started doing Airbnb that work didn't even matter anymore. I was like, oh, you mean I got to go to work for like 60 hours? I don't care. I've got this over thing that I'm building over here. It's pretty cool. I'm starting with an air mattress, and we're going to do it. And I'm sleeping on the floor because people have my house rented out. Like, this is awesome. Like, but that's when I didn't care about work anymore. And that's when I realized that the 80-20 rule is how you remove yourself from your career. So you spend 80% on the thing that makes you your money, and then 20% on the thing that is your passion. And then when the 20% becomes bigger than the 80%, then you leave. But we don't want to wait for anything anymore, And what I tell everybody, how old are you?
38.
Me too. God, you look way better than me. But that's all right. But what I'm saying is, what I tell people to really shock them? Like, it's dead serious. Like, do you understand that you have 52 more years? 52 more years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like,
if I'm lucky.
No, you will be, because you're healthy and you take care of yourself. But what I'm saying is, we put it like we got to do it tomorrow. Dude, we got a long time. And look, I'm all about like traveling and doing everything and enjoying your life. But I'm trying to build a legacy. I'm not trying to build a bank account, and I'm not trying to build a transaction relationship. And so, I'm already upset that I wasted so many years doubting myself, and it feels good to step into who I am. But that took a lot of deep work to be okay. And it's still, a weekly process, with my coach, and people aren't willing to unearth the stuff that holds them back. And they're much more comfortable to just kind of let it go, meaning let it go like it's going. And what's going to happen is you're going to blow up. I mean, I haven't had one, so I wouldn't know, but I would imagine that a midlife crisis is kind of because you're like, holy shit, like half of my life's over and I haven't done anything I want to do. And I think if we go back to when we were a kid and we look at those things, I think somewhere in there is something that, and I asked you, I know I'm on your podcast, but I'm interested to hear what got you into wrestling.
For me, it never was really the wrestling. I didn't watch wrestling growing up. I wasn't a huge wrestling fan. I wasn't like, oh my God, let me be a wrestler. Now, once I got into wrestling, I fell in love with wrestling, and I was a big fan then, but it wasn't the initial thing. I wanted more for my life, I think. I spoke with someone about this a little while ago, was that I think I wanted more. It wasn't like I was like, hey, I want more. I know that I want more, that phrase. It was something there that I always wanted to achieve more, to get. I grew up in a really small town, and I wanted to achieve more from that, I think, and I think truthfully, if we're laying it out there, I wasn't bullied and stuff like that, but I was never the coolest kid by any stretch of the imagination. I was just kind of there. I was almost not invisible, but kind of, right? I wasn't really anybody growing up, and I had friends, and I played soccer, and I was a good athlete and stuff like that. But I think I always wanted more, and I don't know where that comes from, but I wanted more. And I think I don't know if attention's the right thing, because I never really enjoyed attention, but I wanted to be seen as someone and seen to be achieving something. So when wrestling came around, I think I saw that as a vehicle that could achieve that for me, I think.
Did it fill the void that you were looking for, or do you think you're still searching for that?
I think it helped. I think it definitely helped and got to that point. I think I think real estate helps fill that void. And I think it's, as you grow older, you care less what people think, right? You still care. I'm not going to be here like, hey, I don't care what nobody thinks. I'm that cool. No, I'm not that guy. We all care what people think. But I think other stuff is more important than that stuff, right? Like, so the reason I invest in real estate is not dollar amount like you talked about or anything like that, right? I have a dollar amount because it's going to lead to a certain life for me, but it's spending time with my wife, spending time with my kid, being able to travel, go on vacations, to have that freedom to do stuff that I enjoy, and that's what I want, right? And I think, to your point that you were talking about people having a midlife crisis and realizing, hey, I'm whatever, I don't even know what age you get to a midlife crisis, but you get to that point and you realize, shit, I haven't done anything I want to do, and I don't even know how to, and I haven't lived much of a life, and I'm getting old, and I think that's where the midlife crisis comes in, right? It seems like to me. So luckily, I don't want to live that, right? If I want to go on vacation, I can go on vacation. I want to go to my kids' baseball game or whatever it is, right? Soccer game. Hopefully he plays soccer. I'm from the UK. Hopefully he'll be a big soccer star. But all that stuff, right? It's not the money to me. And I think that's been replaced by that to me, to wanting to be that rather than to, there's still part of me that wants to prove people wrong and, be like, hey, look at me, I've achieved this and blah, 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 right? But it's more about that for me, which is, but that's a question.
But I think it shows in your energy, and I think it shows in who you are, that you're not looking for just some number on a bank statement, right? And so I gravitate to conversations like that because I think when I started real estate, I did like, and it was to prove my dad wrong. We don't have a great relationship. It was like, fuck you. You're a doctor. Well, screw your ass. I'm going to be a bigger, and then I was like, wait, hold on. Like, I was like, this is not going to work. Cause I'm like beating myself senseless. And that's even more scarier because then I had to find out what I wanted. Right. And that's like a holy shit moment because, I think my concern, right? And I'm so over this shit, but it's just going to get me fired up. If you talk to somebody, right? What's your goal? I want $1 million. Well, shut the fuck. What does that even mean? Like, do you understand the amount of work and dedication and the people you have to employ to get there? My question to you is super simple. If you could get there and you made like $200K a year and you saw your kids' recitals and you were at your soccer games, like what prevents you from being okay with that? Like it prevents you because you give a shit what other people think. And like what I tell everybody, what my favorite joke is like if I gave you $60K and you didn't have to work, but they only got paid $60K a year, and then I gave you $110K, but you had to work 3 days a week, which one would you pick? And people were like, well, I picked $110K. Well, I know, but then the government's going to take it and you're not going to make $100K, so you don't get to tell them you make $100K. And so like, I think people need to my mentor said this, if you don't have a roadmap to where you're headed, then where are you going? Like if you don't have a defined reason why you're pushing so hard, like you have a defined reason. I want to be present for my kids and I want to travel. Okay. Well, that's a defined reason. I have a name from wrestling. So it's easy for me to walk into a room. I'm a big guy, and so that's great. Like you want to meet people and that's all, but you're going about it in the proper way because you're doing it from a place that's centered in what you need. And so it feels comfortable, right? Like I told you, like before we got on, you're like, well, I mean, I was like, we're doing a podcast on your vacation. You're like, hell yeah. Like, it's all good. Like it's dark outside. And so, but like, I love that because I've been on vacation, like in Costa Rica, and I'm like looking at real estate and people are like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, what? And they're like, just relax. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I am relaxed. This is amazing. Like my dream is to own a hotel down there. Like I'm looking at real estate. And they're like, well, you don't want to take a break? And I'm like, no, it's my lifestyle. Like I love it. And so that's my big knock. That's my big flag I stick. Perfect example. I had a podcast released on Friday. I sound a little angry, but it's really funny. It's great. But I said, my diet, like who I am and me working out, is not some holiday weekend that I decided to get healthy. Like, it is who I am. And so who I am is a real estate investor. So I don't care if it's Tuesday, Monday, Sunday, Saturday, like what's a weekend? That doesn't even matter to me. But that's because we love what we do. So how does it work? But there's so many people out there that haven't defined what that is for them, right? And you're trying to get the next car, the new iPhone or the whatever. And I'm so over it because it doesn't matter. Like, look, I just want to travel. Like, so if I can do that from anywhere I'm going. And so when I got into coaching and I got my first couple clients, that's when the light bulb went off. And I was like, oh shit, I can do this from anywhere. Oh, wow. This is a game changer. And that's where I get charged up every day, because the more people I help, the more I get what I want, which is the only thing I care about, which is location independence. That's my number one driving goal, and to help others is my true why, is to lift up everybody around me. But I think that where we're going, right, and what COVID has done for us is it's changed the dynamic for work, right? And so if you can, I was telling my assistant this the other day, like, rent a van and just travel around for a month. Your wife works for Google and she works from her laptop. You don't have any set schedule with me. You can work whenever you feel like it. He was like, oh shit, we can. And so we have to make sure that what we want is not already available for us. We're just too in our own stuff to see it, right? Like, my question to you is, how many, I don't even know, how many units do you own in multifamily?
Only 6 currently.
Okay, 6. And is the world falling apart that you're in the Dominican Republic?
No, not at all. Not at all. I spoke about this earlier today. It's like, it's amazing that today I conducted business, and you might hate me for this, but I was laying on a floaty in the pool with my phone, emailing, texting, WhatsApping, sending people messages and getting them to do what needed to be done. Because my business plan, I guess is what you would call it. I don't have a business plan, but if you would call it something, is not to be there swinging hammers. It's not to be at the property, right? Now, I so happened to be at the property on Saturday because it's in Cincinnati and I live in Las Vegas. But this is the great thing about real estate, is that you can design the life you want. And there's so many different avenues, like coaching, right? You can design, like, you can be, I'm guessing you're meeting your clients in person, right? You're just on Zoom or emailing them whatever questions they have, or you're on a phone call, right? And that's the great thing. Like, you can design, and it goes back to something that, I realized not long ago, is that you can design whatever life you want for yourselves, right? Isn't that incredible? Like, when I realized that, my brain was pretty much exploded. Like, whatever you want your life to look like, you can create that for yourself. So if you want to, like us, have that location independence and be whatever you want to be, well, design that. Figure out what it is, right? and design it to be like that, right? And but something interesting you said earlier, right? And when you asked me that, is just realize why you want something even more. And the word why, I hate that sometimes because it's thrown out all the time. Like, why? Like you said, right? What does it even mean, right? It's just used so superficially. But so define your why, but then realize why you want that why, right? It's so much bigger. And once you understand that, is because sometimes you think you want something, and it was what you said earlier, that asking me that is like, sometimes you think you want something, right? Because you think that's what you should be getting, or that will prove people wrong, or will do something. But if you realize why you want that why, you might question yourself, do I really want that? Is that something I really want? Because you want to really understand why you want things, right? The more you understand yourself, I think, the better you're able to improve your life and be the best version of yourself, like you said that, right? Because if you don't understand stuff and you're doing stuff for no reason, you might realize, like, shit, I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing, but is it really? Is that really making me happen? Is that reaching me in the right way? Is it taking me to where I want to be? And I think that was so interesting when you said that, because I didn't think about that before. I have my goals, right? Traveling and spending time with my family, but why do I want that? There's got to be a bigger reason, right? I think it's because I love my family, and I grew up kind of like that, and I was traveled when I was young, and I love seeing people from different cultures, and I don't know, I love the beach, man. You know what I mean? So, but when you ask that, you kind of ask a bigger question of yourself. And I think, I'm sure you're big on this. You've got to ask yourself bigger questions of yourself, I think, than just the easy, I want to reach 100,000 a year because I want to travel. Okay, cool. But what's bigger than that? Find out what's bigger than that, because it's going to help you understand when times are tough, like what's going on there, I think.
My favorite quote my mentor ever said to me was his goal is to make his ceiling his new floor.
That's awesome.
Make his ceiling his new floor. I'm thinking about this because I interviewed them today, and German and Oscar, who have a podcast, and they're Hispanic, and they're in the military, and they're getting multifamily. The same thing with my 24-year-old buddy. I'm trying not to get emotional. There is something I'm fascinated with is the amount of burden and effort that it takes to break generational poverty. Mm. I think it's not talked about enough. Mm-hmm. And I'll use my country boy down in Houston who said it to me the other day. Every now and then, a stunner has to come along into the family and show everybody it's possible. They're doing it not for them. They're doing it for their kids. They're doing it for the Hispanic community, mm-hmm. to show the Hispanic community that you don't have to be a tile and sheetrock layer. You can own the fucking building. When you have that, how the hell do you not get out of bed every morning and launch in yourself? It's a simple question. My goal is to make everybody that I'm in a room with feel better and lift up and save as many lives as I can in recovery and just in general. Meaning, maybe you're not an alcoholic, but saving your life from doing something that you fucking hate. I mean, that's as simple as that. Tell me when I'll be finished. Never. I can't be. Yeah. I can't be. So I'm working an infinite sum game. So I dare you to compete with me. It doesn't exist. Because nothing that I do every day is tied to a number. Mm-hmm. It's tied to an emotion of making my clients feel better and giving them the lift that they need. And what I ask my clients to do is, especially when you get out and you're starting to work out and you're starting to feel better, I want you to chase that emotion. Chase that feeling. Chase feeling good. Because I'm telling you right now, the high that you'll get from chasing your dreams and not being cloudy or hungover in the morning or whatever is higher and better than anything, any drug, any alcohol. Because what we're doing, right, is you're showing your kid that anything's possible, right? And how can dad say that to his son if he's not chasing his dreams? Like, that's a holy shit moment, right? My buddy said this to me today. Like, who am I if I'm not chasing my dreams to tell my son to chase his dream? And what's something I really want to hit on, because it's very important and it changed me big wise. In my 20s, I came up with a name for it. I was a pecker. So in my early 30s too, advice. Hey man, I don't understand why you're not doing this. I know everything. You should do this. Blah, 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 blah. I had a friend text me, a guy that used to work in the music business with me, and he said, hey man, I haven't talked to you in like a year, but I just want you to know that because of you, I got sober. And I was like, what? I haven't talked to you. And he goes, I know, but I saw you on Instagram. And he's like, I thought if you're crazy ass could get sober, he's like, I think I could do it. And that's when I realized that in order to truly inspire and truly be a boss and lead, you have to lead from the front. Not what you say to them, it's by you being the best version of yourself and going out every day and giving a shit about other people, smiling, lifting them up, doing these things to understand that, like, perfect example. I'll use it in the context for real estate investors. when you and your contractor get in a fight, and look, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of shitty contractors out there, but I'm just saying, if you got a good one, before you fly off at the handle, maybe you should ask him how the fuck he's doing. Hey, is your wife pissed you off? Are the other jobs behind? Is there anything I can do to support you? But no, that's not what we do. We yell, scream, kick, blame, because we have removed compassion from life. Because we're so worried about getting this house finished and understanding that if we support that person and he is bought into our vision, then he'll do whatever you want. He'll work on a Sunday. But if you treat him like shit, he's going to be like cutting corners. He's not going to work on Sundays. He's not going to work on Saturdays. And look, there's bad people out there that do everything. Of course, I'm just using the context. But what I'm saying is we're so quick to fly off the handle that we need to understand how we're showing up in the situation, how we're showing up as yesterday I was a fucking asshole, like to my girlfriend. It's not right. It doesn't do anything by being that person. I mean, it hurts to hear that stuff, but I'm better for it because I'm a grown up enough to say like, okay, that doesn't work, dude. But we're so quick to blame other people instead of taking ownership. You're like, I think Jocko Willick's book, Extreme Ownership, is one of the best books I've ever read. And he really puts it in a framework that you can go, okay, like, holy shit, dude's losing people in battle and he's like taking full, blame of it. And that's like, okay, well, I'm just over here doing multifamily assets. I think we'll be all right.
Yeah, no, that is a phenomenal book. And to have that extreme ownership, right, is amazing, because if your contractor's not doing right, it's more on you than them, right? They're always being the shitty contractor or whatever, but you should have vetted them differently. You should have treated them differently, right? Like you said, maybe they're always going to be that, but maybe if you treated them better, maybe if you worked with them better, if you told them, maybe you didn't tell them exactly what they needed to be told, right? Maybe you didn't explain your vision for that property. Maybe you didn't tell them everything, right? Maybe you've been paying them late all the time, so they're annoyed with you. Like, there's so much stuff that we have control over that we don't understand, and that it's easy. But the problem is with a lot of this stuff that we've talked today, just including this now, it's easy to do something else, right? Mm-hmm. It's easy not to look at ourselves. It's easy to blame someone else. It's easy to be angry. It's easy to do all this other stuff rather than take responsibility for our actions and everything that's going on in our lives, right? And face the difficult stuff, right? It's easier to run the other way a lot of times. And I think that's the problem a lot of times. And it's, it's one thing to say it, hey, take the hard road and, go to that discomfort, but it's another thing to do it. And it's not always that easy. But I think a lot of times if we can realize that, I think that helps us a lot, to try and to have that extreme ownership, but even bigger than that, to know that we've got to go through discomfort to be able to grow and be better people.
Sounds good. Well, I don't know how long you have. I can talk for 7 hours. So.
I know. That's awesome, man. It's awesome. This has been an important discussion, I think, for people to kind of hear and listen and understand, I think, because there's a lot of talk about mindset, but I love the way you talk about it. It's on a deeper level, I think, than say, okay, hey, define your why. Okay, cool, define your why, but there's more to it than that, right? There's a lot more to it than that. I think that's important.
And I think I'll say it to you because somebody said it to me, and I think it'll resonate with you, and I'll resonate with your audience. Be careful that the life that you wish for years, you're not currently living.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. And you know what? I realized this myself. We're so guilty of looking ahead. And I've looked back. There's been times in my life when I didn't think it was that good, right? When I was training and I wasn't, I wasn't on TV and I wasn't getting to where I wanted to be. But I look back at that time. So many of those times I've been like looking forward and look back, think, oh, that was a great time. Another part of my life, look forward and look back and realize that was a great time. So many times in my life, I realized that when I thought I wanted more, like you said, I had more then, and that time was really good. And I think it's important sometimes. It's a saying, right? And it's just another phrase that people throw out, but it's the journey, not the destination. And if you can really like take a step back and be like, wow, this is pretty cool, right? Like I'm on a podcast with Austin today, right? I'm not where I want to be, but I'm on a podcast with Austin in the Dominican Republic, reaching my goals, moving forward, doing stuff that I enjoy, right? Yes, my goal is to do X, Y, Z in real estate, but you know, when I get there, will I be happier than now? Will I be more achieved? Will I be more fulfilled? Probably not, right?
Probably not.
Now is, and plus if my goal is 5 years out, whatever it is, right? I've got to wait 5 years to be happy. No, today is an awesome day. Today is a fun day, and enjoy and realize that. And I think once you realize that, that's friggin' so huge, I think.
Married to the process, divorced from the results.
Yes, I love that. I never heard that before, but I love that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a good place to kind of finish, but I told you I have 4 questions I ask everyone. Usually I prep them before I tell them, but you said you didn't want to know. You prefer to hear them for the first time now. So the first question that I like to ask people is, if you had to pick a wrestling name for yourself, what would it be?
Austin Bonfire Linney.
Austin Bonfire. Why Bonfire?
Because everybody says that I'm the true definition of fire.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Awesome Bonfire Linney. I like that. Every wrestler has a special move, right? So they have in a match, if they hit that special move, that signature move, the match is over. That's like their strong point. That's their strength. What is your strength in real estate or in the coaching that you're in? What would you say your strength is?
I'm a networker on steroids. So I literally have somebody for everything in every country. Like it's not a joke. Like I am intentional about my networking, like very intentional. Like I'll fly out to meetups, like a big meetup just because, like across the country, just for one day. Like just because I'm so intentional about what I do. I have people that own hotels and actually in Puerto Rico now that I'm remembering. And then I have, people in Europe. I have people, I like to be the guy that can, because what I realize is that, and I was just talking about this today, part of my coaching, part of what you get with me is also my network. Like I've got a financial advisor, I've got multifamily guys. So that's part of the thing where, but it all stems back to when I was in the restaurant business. I don't like to do any extra work. So if I have everybody, like I've already got the guy. I don't want to do any extra digging.
No, that's awesome. Yeah. Similar to you. I was talking to someone before that about something similar, is that the guy I was interviewing, none of us we went to college, but we didn't end up with a degree, and we had this inferiority complex a little bit about that everyone else was smarter than us and all this other stuff. But he said a story about Henry Ford, that he was getting interviewed by lawyers or attorneys or whatever about, like, hey, you're not smart enough to do this. You can't do this. You can't build this factory. You can't build these cars. You can't do this. And he's like, I'm not going to be the one doing this. I tell other people what to do. I don't need to know all the legal stuff. I don't need to know the ins and outs of building a factory. I don't need to know the mechanics of everything. I just have other people that do that. And I love that. It's kind of your mindset as well. You have other people that can do that for you. You don't need to do it.
Exactly.
That's awesome. What's been the biggest body slam you've taken in your, let's go, real estate investing career?
So we started an Airbnb company. We scaled to 26 properties in 7 states, management. And I lost $26,000. We didn't do enough work on the front end to realize that the partnership, there was 3 guys. Me and one of the other guys didn't see eye to eye. I lied about what I really wanted to do, I think, ultimately. But as I stepped, that was 2 years ago. It's the first time and only time I've ever lost money in real estate. But here's the way I look at it. Two things. Those guys gave me the space needed to get sober. Mm-hmm. So for the rest of my life, I owe everything to them. Second thing is I never went to business school. So it was my in real life training. And I found out about 30 things I don't want to do. So granted, the day after, it's not what I was thinking, but through reflection and understanding that I had one of the guys on the podcast, and it was really odd because it came out like, man, like I'm so grateful. Like for the rest of my life, I will owe it to that. So be careful how you label something. lost money is lost money. Go make more of it.
Yeah, and there's always something you can learn, right? A positive from everything. There really is. Like, you again, you hear this stuff all the time, and it sounds cliche, all this stuff, but you really can turn a negative into a positive, because it's all about how you look at it. You can let it bog you down and drag you down, or you can be like, okay, what did I learn from this? What did I grow from this? And I've lost money and made mistakes and done stuff like that, but there's always been a time that I've grown from it, and it's gone led you on to usually bigger and better stuff, as long as you don't let it put you down, right? You've got to just get back up from it. Yep. So that's cool. So was there a moment that you were standing on the top rope in the wrestling ring? So you were standing on the top rope, getting ready to jump, but you were scared. What was it, and how did you overcome it?
So I'm going to tell 2 stories. Okay. So I wanted to leave the restaurant business for like 6 years, like no BS. Like I worked at the nicest restaurants. I was so over it. Now the company I just referenced I just quit. I was like, I'm going to go all in with this company, like screw it. But it's one of those things where I second guess myself most of my life. I think there's a comfort zone that's so much more pleasurable than the unknown. And I think the number one thing that I'm working on, I think with my clients and myself, is having faith in the unknown. And here's the thing, and I'll bring it back to my favorite point. If you operate in scarcity, the universe is undefeated. It will, as you say, body slam you over and over again. But when you understand that abundance, right, is in everything, meaning what you can operate, then the universe rewards you, right? And so that's what I'm trying to live in. That's what you're trying to live in. And I think if you could live in that, because it's one of those things where, it's an odd moment for me, because I lost the money and I didn't have a job. And so what happened was, this is a real story. This is super freaky. But the 2-year anniversary of the restaurant that I previously worked at was like 3 days later. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go say hi to everybody. Like, maybe it'll make me feel better. I just lost a bunch of money. So I drive up to the place. I get out of the car. I walk up to the building. I reach for the door. I look in the door, and all my old employees are there. And when I reach for the door, something in my head or in my heart said, that's not your life anymore. And I let the door go. I got back in my car, and I got a phone call right then from an old friend who said, hey, do you want to come loan investors money in private equity and give you a job today? And I was like, what the hell? Like, we hadn't even talked to him in like 6 months, like maybe longer. So those are those moments that, I'm not kidding you when I say this. If I would have gone back, there's a good chance I would have asked for my job back. And maybe I wouldn't be a coach. Maybe I think we don't understand that sometimes you just have to hold on just a minute. Because one of the things I think that is my big concern with America is that the moment you lose your job, what does everybody tell you? Well, what are you going to do next? I'm like, well, hold on. Let's give it like a day or two. Let me separate it from it. But we're so quick to jump into the next thing that sometimes we need to give it a little bit space, And I think if you can hold on, because you'll make the proper decision or move from it from a couple of days, I think is super important.
Yeah. Wow, what a crazy story. That's just, I don't know, like you said, it's just the universe telling you what to do at that point, I'm guessing, right? It's just crazy. That's so cool.
It's just making a statement that who you thought you were, you're no longer that guy.
Yeah.
But it's so quick in failure. Oh, and here's what I don't tell everybody. We had a 14-day trip to Costa Rica scheduled 3 days after I lost the 26 grand. And I was like, only a freaking imbecile goes on a 2-week trip after he lost his job. And I was like, well, you know, maybe it was meant to be. Like, and so I went there and recharged and kind of regrouped and, you know, got back after it. And, you know, there hasn't been roses. It hasn't been roses. You know, I got laid off during COVID and I got divorced like 3 weeks later. You know, and so, you know, I understand that one of the greatest things I've ever heard is everything that I wanted in my life showed up nothing like I thought it would be. Yeah, and I'll just leave it at that.
That's amazing. Yeah, I love that. Everything I wanted showed up as. That's so cool. It's amazing because it's so true. Like how you picture your life, right? It's just. I'd be surprised if anyone's life turns out how they picture it, right? It really is. And it kind of, to bring it back to real estate, I also found that when I set goals, you know, yes, it's good to have goals and whatever that looks like, but they change maybe not month to month, but every 6 months for sure, because you learn something new, your priorities change, you know, you see things differently, and it's good.
Barry, if I ask you a question, do you have core values? Who you are?
To some extent, I think. Yeah, not that I've written them down or whatever.
Just
but
name one. Just
integrity, I think.
Okay. Don't you feel like that's a better North Star than 10 grand a month?
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree. Yeah.
So if we operate through intention and core values, then it doesn't matter what storm comes our way. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Man, this has been such a cool interview. It's, you know, it's been it's your real estate. It's sort of real estate related, but it's so much more than that, right? And I think it's mindset stuff, but it's mindset on a much deeper level. I think, you know, I've had people talk about mindset, and it's been awesome, that conversation. But it's, I love the way you talk about it, right? You're bare to the bone, and you're exposed, and you know what I mean. You're not hiding anything for sure, right? No selling anything, no promoting anything. And I'm not saying that anyone else was, but I really enjoy that about you, and I really like that about you. So I appreciate you making time to do this interview, man. It's been really.
No, I had so much fun. I can't wait you to have mine on. I'm so ready, dude.
Well, you kind of took over as well. You must be a good. You kind of ask me the questions. I usually like being the interviewer because I don't have to answer questions.
Well, maybe because I did 6 today, I was like already in the mode. I don't know, but awesome. But I thought it was funny. I was like, I'm gonna put him up against the ropes and see.
Yeah, put him in a bit of a headlock. Yeah, you for sure did that. But yeah, before we go, where can people find out more about you? You know, tell us about your podcast, if you're on Instagram, all that good stuff.
So the name of the podcast is called Construct Your Life. The theme of the podcast is how to build a lifestyle, not a bank account. I'm loving it. I'm really loving the podcast. You can find me on Instagram, Austin Linney. You can find me on Facebook. I'll answer any DMs. Happy to help anybody. You know, it's really my passion to make sure that everybody is living the best version of themselves. So, you know, guys, I really on this kick right now, and I want to make it very clear. Everything that's available is free. It's all free. Now, granted, you need coaching and mentorship. I'm not saying hire me. I'm just saying that YouTube is an amazing university that can teach you everything it wants to teach. And so stop saying that things aren't available to you. It's just that you're not willing to put in the work. And I know that me and this guy are gonna be sitting on a beach in the Greek Isles, and we're gonna be laughing because we took what was available for us and we made sure that we didn't stop until we got what we wanted.
100%, man, 100%. Well, awesome, man. Austin, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, man. I'm excited to be on your show. That'll be fun. But have a great rest of your day, man. I really appreciate today's talk.
No, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you so much.